I encourage everybody to go out and take a look, especially when they have the back porch overlooks that really nice kind of field and forested area, which I thought was beautiful.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's a couple minutes after. I'm seeing 3 of you. Let's see, do I have anyone else? Oh, 4.
4.
1, 2, 3. No, it's.
It's 4. Perry,
Count me in.
Dave, me, and Powell.
Oh, yep, you're right. My bad.
Rose is there.
Just got
Rosie,
here.
I keep forgetting that you're actually on boards and that you're not just coming to babysit us.
Okay.
All right. So what?
Oh, I'm teasing her because she's always showing up at our planning commission meetings too, which I always appreciate. Just, sometimes I forget.
It's
So thank you, Rosie.
educational.
We need 5 for a quorum, do we not?
I believe so.
Where's Todd? He's gone, isn't he?
Todd he's in a plane right now. He could not be here.
What's the guy's name from the mill? Can't remember his name.
Sam?
Sam, yeah, where's Sam?
I think it's Sam resigned, right?
Yes.
Yep, Sam resigned. So,
Mayor Hall, Bernie, and Sally are the ones we're missing.
Sally contacted me. She had about 20 minutes too. She got a call that a close friend passed away. So she's not in any condition to be in a meeting.
Bernie mentioned he couldn't make it.
He would or would not?
He couldn't. He called earlier to me. He called me earlier.
Okay. Well, then we will not have a quorum.
well, frankly, Dave, I don't know. If you've got one person who's resigned off your board, that means that you have 8 persons on your board.
Currently.
Yeah, so I don't know. Does 50% constitute a quorum?
You're the lawyer.
Yeah, I know. I hadn't thought about that problem before.
Sandell, welcome to the board.
I think, well, on that line, I think I sent you a person who was interested in being on it. Did they send in an application?
No, and I spoke with that person in person, and they said, oh, yeah. I still haven't seen it, so.
All right. Well, I will be stopping by that person's today anyway, so I will reiterate it, but I mean,
Who is that person? Can you say that?
unless they apply, no, we didn't say who it was, but unless they apply, we're not really considering it, but regardless, my understanding was we had to have 5, so.
Yeah, I'm reading. Yeah, it says 50% plus 1.
Okay.
So it would still be 5, even if you only have 8 people.
Well, unless 2 more want to resign.
Well,
I wouldn't have the quorum with it.
Mr. Ringler, for what it's worth, we could still hold an informal meeting. This was kind of an informal meeting anyways, because there's not much that's being added to the agenda.
Right.
The only thing I really added to the agenda were some specifics for the garbage cans, and then also a discussion item on working with the Chamber of Commerce. So I guess I'll leave it to you to run through the agenda or not. But those are the only 2 things I'm really concerned about. Whether we want to appoint maybe a subcommittee on garbage cans, or if we just want to push it off another month for additional options. But I think the Chamber of Commerce discussion is probably the only really important one.
Well, I know there was a couple of the ones that Mr. Hopkins sent over that I liked, but we can certainly refer that either to the existing sign committee or form a separate committee for it. Does anyone have any thoughts?
I've been studying the garbage cans till my eyeballs were going to fall
I
out.
didn't hear any of that. You sounded like a chipmunk.
Do I? Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I didn't hear Dave.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't
Oh,
hear.
sorry.
Sounded like a bunch of chipmunks.
I've never heard that I've sounded like a chipmunk before, so. No, all I was saying is that a couple of the garbage cans that were sent over I liked, but whether we want to refer that to the existing sign committee or form a new committee, if anyone had any thoughts.
I just wanted to say, I studied the garbage can issue till my eyeballs are gonna fall out. One thing I need to know is what does DPW prefer as specs on the garbage cans? Because weight and tops and all that kind of stuff we need to consider as we choose.
Yep, I mean, so I've had discussions with the DPW department, obviously, about this issue. A couple of things that they've mentioned has been, they'd like it to be heavy, of a heavy, type material so it doesn't get blown away in the wind. I don't know if they want to bolt them down to the ground or not. But, at least be a heavy material. They've had preference for something that is covered from the rain so that it has some kind of bonnet. Something that has a easily removable trash kind of bag. So that could be either a flip top or a removable top, or they have these side doors on some of them as well. So it's not complicated stuff. But, they don't want the very cheap, flimsy plastic ones. I think there are some very nice looking ones, which are kind of a composite over a metal frame, which would probably work. But and this is just me personally, I think the ones that are the black metal, which match kind of what the benches look like, would probably go best with the theming of what we've got going on here in the city. But that's, I guess, a call for the DDA.
The second one on the packet?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly which one. Option 2, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, there's item number, it's a second one in item number WB260804BK.
Yep. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, like I said, there's none of them that I really hated.
The last one I hated.
Yeah, there were a couple that were a little cheaper looking. I'm just trying to pull them up right now.
Well, the top one would be touchless right now, but later after the pandemic's over, it doesn't matter if they're touchless.
Yeah.
What does touchless mean, Perry?
It means you don't have to push in on it to put it in. Like the second one, you have to push the flap in to throw your trash in. The top one, it does have a cover over, but you can still slip it in from the side.
I think we're looking at two different ones. The second one on my list has the cover, and you can put it in from either side, trash from any side.
Yep. So I agree with Mr. Wrangler. I liked option 2. And
I guess there is three. My bad, I missed the top one altogether. So yeah, that's the one I'm referring to, is the touchless one.
Yes.
2.
Okay. So one of the things I do like about it is it's amazing how many people think that they can just shove their entire house garbage into the city's garbage bins.
Right.
This would help prevent that, at least on Main Street. Obviously, we can always go to the park and do it.
Try having a dumpster next to rental houses.
Yes.
Been there, done that.
Here too. But I think, I like number 2. But this is one of those things where I think the board should vote on it. And I'll show that one to the DPW too, and just get their feelings between now and the next meeting.
So,
The only other one I liked was the Falcon two-way that has the side door, but I'm not sure if that's plastic and too light and flimsy. That
one I think might fly in the wind.
Yeah, that one's third from the bottom, but that one, like I said, that's probably too light.
I did like the marquise steel and the two-tone square, but they don't have a top on it. To me, DPW suggestions, recommendations.
Right. Well, I agree. They'll fill with water otherwise, and to Michael's comment, you're going to have people throwing larger items in there.
I think we should do a committee.
Maybe throw a cigarette butt in it too.
Yeah.
I think we should.
I think one of the long-term goals is for us to come up with a cigarette butt container as well, in addition to these new garbage cans. I like the ones that are kind of like the cylinders that you can maybe put on the light posts, so that people are not putting their cigarette butts in the trash bins. But I figured we'd address that after we address the garbage bins.
Well, remember the garbage bins that I sent you that had the cigarette butt things on the top that you put sand in? My only
Yeah.
thoughts with that is DPW would have a hard time cleaning those every day, probably.
I just hate the look of those. I absolutely hate the look of those.
They'd get water in them.
So I was in Charlottesville all weekend, you guys, and they have them there, and it obviously rained this weekend, but that's a totally different, vibe there too. I mean, there barely was any cigarette butts in there, but it's also Charlottesville, so maybe it's just different.
I saw the ones that were in downtown Grand Rapids, and they are attached to various size poles. And they were pretty darn nice, but I can't find anything online. There's a lot of wall-mounted cigarette ash disposals, but I can't find one that is pole-mounted. Maybe Grand Rapids kind of jerry-rigged it so it would mount on a pole, but those are pretty nice, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm sure we can figure out a way to get them mounted on the poles. We just have to take a look at which ones we're looking at, and go from there. But, if we want to give this to the sign committee and have them start working on the trash bins, make a recommendation, and then immediately following that, they can start working on the cigarette butt holders, that would work too.
Sounds good to me.
Did we want to talk real quickly about, obviously we can't vote on anything, but we want to talk real quickly about communicating with Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, it's up to you guys.
Sure. Let's do it.
You wanna go, Laura, or?
I think it's great that if we all stay in communication, if we pick the trash cans, then I know the chamber is, we did a meeting for the grant money. Sorry, you guys, I just walked into work, so my phone's going absolutely crazy. So let me shut that down so I can focus on y'all. So we set aside, or we voted, and it's not really to a full vote yet. Am I right, Karen, saying that's our
The
subcommittee
committee-
meeting?
Yeah, the committee earmarked money to be allocated to
There you go.
different things, but it hasn't been brought to the board yet to say, yes, we like that earmarked.
Yep. So we earmarked like $5,000. I don't have it pulled up. Quite honestly, if I pull it up, then my phone will go crazy. So Perry, maybe you can help me without me having to pull that out of here. I think it's $5,000 for commercial for the city, $10,000 for some benches downtown, some money for a scavenger hunt. That was $2,000 or $3,000. Perry, what am I missing here?
Just like, I got a customer who just walked in, I'll be right back.
Okay, you guys, let me see if I can get it pulled up.
Also, Laura, while you're pulling it up, can I just add some comments?
Yep.
So, benches, we're happy to work with the chamber, but obviously the DDA is kind of more in control of what's going on with the public sidewalk and garbage cans and all that.
Yep.
So I think it'd be great if the DDA could work with the chamber and say, oh, if you want to donate whatever, here are the benches that we've been using. Or, hey, you could donate towards the garbage cans or the cigarette butt holders or whatever. I just don't want the chamber to go out and buy, these benches of their choice and then go to submit that to the city or the DDA. And the city and DDA say, that is not what we want our needs.
So that was why I kind of reached out to you about that, so we could, communicate and work together so we make sure we get the right things. There is very limited amount of stuff we can spend this money on. So it's $20,000 has to be spent by November. And they give us a pretty limited, what you could use it on, honestly. So obviously to promote commerce downtown, they give us suggestions. Some of those suggestions was new seating in the town. I personally want to see more of the Adirondack chairs that I have in front of my building. I thought if we placed those around town, it would be just kind of cute and kind of set us apart as opposed to just benches, right? I just thought it's fun, it looks good.
Which I agree with. The only problem
Yep.
there is going to be which businesses you put those in front of. Because businesses can get.
Yep, yep. So my thoughts were maybe working with the city and just saying, you know, where do you guys think, right? Where do you guys want these at? Because quite honestly, those Adirondack chairs are a little bit more money than just plain old benches are going to be. I think I have $1,000 in mine out front. So, but they last forever. I mean, look at those. They've been out there 3 years for $365. So, I mean, obviously we're open to suggestions as well. We did earmark some money for some T-shirts for the commercial that's happening. We got the quote for the commercial back, and it was not even close to the $5,000 that we allocated. It was only $1,500. So, it's great that we got this $20,000. But now we got to figure out how to spend it.
What about
Seems easy.
what about like new signage for the businesses downtown? So, you know, have somebody walk up and down Main Street, look at all the old signs and say, man, that doesn't sure could use a new sign. Then, I don't know, can you offer $500 to a company, match 50% or whatever, for them to get new signage?
I don't know the answer to that without digging through all of that verbiage.
Because that's the kind of thing that the DDA can do, so I don't know why the chamber couldn't do it.
Right.
If there's a pot of money sitting there and we're sitting here looking at trash cans right now, why don't we pick out the trash cans and suggest that perhaps they can purchase the trash cans if they've got money sitting there?
Yep,
So
I
here's
mentioned that
my
as well.
thought. Wherever we're gonna put trash cans, we put Adirondack chairs and screw them to the ground. Right next to them.
I
A
would,
little table in the center.
I
You
would,
want to sit next to a trash can?
Well, not right next to them, but it's just in the same vicinity.
Okay, so how many Adirondack chairs do you think you could get out of whatever money you have available?
Probably 10 cents.
Okay. Yeah, so how many garbage cans were we gonna put on Main Street? Two per block or one per block?
what did we have before?
I think we kind of had a random assortment, to be honest. You know.
I don't think we have 10 in town, do we?
It'd probably be about 10. But, you know, I think of the downtown area as kind of being from Ash Street up to Maple Street. So that's 1, 2, 3 blocks, really. You know, I wouldn't be opposed to stretching it back down to Beach Street. So there's not a lot of retail down there. So really, if that's only 3 full blocks times 2, 6. Yeah, so you either have 6 or 12, 2 per block. Either one works for me.
2 per block feels a lot, don't you, Dave?
I don't know.
My biggest thing is that this stuff would be cohesive. I mean, you know, the Adirondacks are fine. They just don't match what we have. But if we had several of them and they're spread out, I mean, even the pocket park next to City Hall might be cool to put a couple of Adirondacks out there. But, you know, the benches and what I like about the trash cans we were just looking at is they match the benches. So, you know, if we're going to do this, that's all. That's my whole thing is just be guidance and not look like we have a haphazard pile of stuff just thrown out. Here's the model that we're using. If somebody wants to donate, fine, but this is what we're donating because they're all going to be the same. And make it look like it's the downtown.
I think we could just donate the money. I don't know. So I suggested that they hire somebody to oversee this to make sure that we were spending it correctly. Because let's be honest, I'm not a grant writer. I don't know crap about grants. If I need something, I just buy it. That's how I roll. So, in my personal opinion, we need somebody that can help us with this, that can read it and say, yes, you can do that. And so I suggested that they hire Lana Novak to do that because she has the background and she said she would do it. So that's my personal opinion, because what if there's other things we can do? I know we talked about doing what was that thing, Mike, a trough or a trough or I don't know, something in in the heart where a water feature or something like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But it also have to be done, right, before November, like the money has to be spent.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's even an option at this point.
Well, I'm sure that there's some commercial manufacturers that make that kind of stuff. You'd have to find it and purchase it, I guess, from the manufacturer. And of
Well,
course,
so to be honest with you guys, this kind of falls on my shoulders a little bit, right? And I don't have time. I'm working a lot. And so for me to say I can do a slew of, I mean, I just can't. I can do benches. I can do something else. But otherwise, I just don't have the time to do the video, you know, make sure the commercial happens and then make sure that all this other stuff happens. So, I mean, if we can just donate the money to DDA for them to buy stuff, I don't know if that's an option. You know, so we make sure it's all cohesive.
I mean, that's actually a great question. If the chamber is able to donate it and that counts as spent, that may be an awesome solution to take the timing out of it, but.
so I guess from my perspective, the only real benefit between the nexus of the chamber and the DDA is it doesn't really need a whole lot of permission to put stuff out on the sidewalk. You know, the council trusts the DDA to do what is right, but anything that the chamber wants to do, they're going to have to get permission from the city to do it. Which, you know, isn't going to be that difficult, but, you know, like I said, I want to be part of the cohesive design that we are putting together through the DDA.
No, agreed. I want to make sure it all looks good to you guys. I mean, there's a reason why I reached out to Mike right away and said, hey, this is what you know we got. This is what we're thinking. What can we do here? You know, I mean, I can hire the people to build the ones I had. I know them, but if somebody else has another idea, they're going to have to run with that idea because I don't have time to run with it.
We have to go back to,
Being 100% honest.
we have to go back to when Perry and I had offered benches for different businesses, they didn't want them in front of their businesses because of people hanging out. Now, if that's, we still have to give businesses the option to say, I don't want a bench or I don't want chairs. And that's something we have to consider.
Well, that is one other point. I mean, I know ours, we get people just sit there leaving their trash and smoking. I mean, that's what they do. And I personally don't want another one in front of us. We've got one already, but I mean, that is a good point, Rose. And you know, the trash cans we absolutely need. A ton of additional seating.
Maybe not on Main Street. What about in the parks, the staging area, the heart of Cedar Springs, around the library?
We got a ton of benches over there.
Yeah, I know.
What about at the dog park?
Yeah, the only problem with the dog park is I'm basically a one-man force on this one trying to get it done. And I've been sick the last 2 weeks, so I anticipate trying to get it done this past weekend. It just didn't happen, so.
Still talking about donation?
I'm sorry, Perry, what?
Are we still talking about the benches with the grant?
Yes.
We just have to remember wherever they go, the grant money is intended to be used for reboosting our businesses into.
Right.
Hey, Terry, Dave had a really good idea. What about walking through town and noticing some people that maybe could use a new sign and donating, like having the chamber donate like $1,000 towards a new sign for them or something?
Or 500, because some signs don't cost 1,000.
Well,
Well,
I'm just talking around numbers.
50%. What you do with 50% of the sign up to 500 or something to that effect.
I think the idea of all this is to help make Cedar Springs a destination city. And I do think throwing some money into a playground down by the library would be one of those things where folks want to come to town. Yeah.
Well, if you can purchase something between now and November, you know, that at least not having read the grant requirements, seems like that would have fulfilled the requirements if you purchase it between now and November.
Can we just donate some money to like, to to the DDA to buy? Perry, can we do that? Have you looked at that? Do we need to pay to Glenna?
Yeah, I don't know if we can donate it to the DDA. We would have to have a receipt of where the money was being spent by December 31st.
Sounds like something.
We can outsource and hire other entities to do it, but it has to be done and spent by December 31st.
Done and spent?
November.
Yeah?
Is that done and spent or planned and purchased for a spring maybe installation?
From what I read of it, well, the money has to be spent by December 31st.
Okay.
I thought it was November, Perry. I don't know why I keep thinking November.
Because that's the election.
One other thing just to throw out there, I know at one point the DDA, we talked about getting a whole set of banners downtown. I mean, in the old days, obviously we had the red flannels hanging in the streets and we had talked about doing that. That was, as I recall, a $5,000 plus project. That may be something to bring up to the chamber as being a fundable project. I mean, to me, trash cans are important. Benches, yeah, maybe not. Benches and chairs. We need the trash cans. The smoking vessels are awesome. You know what? Signage would promote commerce and give a unified look to downtown. Maybe another idea.
Yeah, the signages and banners would probably meet the grants agenda versus trash cans. They said we could do outdoor seating if there was some locations where it was going to boost the businesses, especially if it was where people were waiting to get inside of a business while there's too many people meeting numbers of your limitations. But I think the signage would probably meet the grants agenda better than trash cans.
So, new signage.
Well, I think we had a design that we kind of liked already, didn't we, at one point?
For what? Signs?
For the banners, the pole banners. We'd had I know it, last year we kind of almost had a thing ready to go, and I don't know, I'm just asking, that just may be a ready-made thing that's easy, it promotes commerce, that might just be an easy switch, and we get out of the whole bench worrying thing of who does and doesn't want one, and how many, and where, and...
I can go back in the agendas and packets really easily and try to find that information and send it back out real quick.
Yeah,
I don't remember us having a design. I remember us having, I guess, a price.
Yeah,
We had a price. I don't think we had a design.
last I remember we was at was Pittsburgh was supposed to get back with us with a demo of the type of banner that he was proposing that we'd use.
He did.
Yeah, he got back with a physical demo?
Yeah. He come in with a banner. Am I wrong?
I don't remember that.
I mean, I don't remember that either. I know we had kind of the bracket thing, and then I thought it was just kind of a city logo. I know we talked about doing some seasonal banners, but I think one of them we talked was just the city logo with, you know, welcome to downtown, and be done with it. Keep it simple and move on and avoid all the controversial bullshit. Excuse my French.
Oui.
I remember him coming in with two different banners. I remember that. Like he said, this one won't hold up as well, right? But it was like half the price, and this one will be way better. Don't you guys remember him coming in with those?
Yes, he came in because I asked him to come in and present to the DDA board. But I remember, unless he came in some other time that I don't recall, he was going to put out a demo at his business, and we was going to see how I can check with Shannon from Copies Plus and see if they're still doing the banners. She bought his business from him. Yeah.
She's out till Thursday, but...
Well, I think maybe banners would be a good idea. Playground equipment, although, I mean, we can't just go buy playground equipment and then have the city say that's not what we're thinking. So maybe the city comes up with some ideas of what they're thinking and they present it to the chamber?
So
Or Kurt maybe does, or somebody does. Because I'm not just gonna present a whole bunch of playground equipment and then have them say, well, that's not what we're thinking.
So this is one of the things I'm looking at right now. So we actually put together, I thought, a fairly comprehensive plan for a natural playground at the heart of Cedar Springs.
Mhm.
And you can see, this is the sluiceway, or at least a sluiceway that you can buy, direct from a manufacturer. It's cheap, $180 per section. And we can make it as big or as small as we want. And it would be, I guess, a nice first step towards getting that playground in. Of course, it's going to require some additional things like a water pump and where does the water go to after you're done with it. But it's an option, something you could purchase with that money.
So if the chamber purchased these items and said, could we say, and then we'll donate an extra $2,000 for installation, but then the city has to do that? I mean, I don't want to just purchase stuff and have it delivered to the city and then the city be like, now what do you want us to do with it?
Well, that sounds like a good question for whoever's going to read the grant instructions. Of course, this is a chamber thing, not a city thing.
I don't necessarily know if I like the playground stuff, don't get me wrong, but I don't think that meets the agenda of the grant, the purpose of it.
Well, at the very least, I think I'll go back and I'll find the banner information that we had. And the DDA can help follow up with that to the chamber. But, I don't think the DDA wants to take this on. How does the DDA want to participate with the banners? Do we want to give them here's a design that we're thinking about? Or do we just want to give it to them and say, propose something back to the city?
Go back to the sign committee.
Yeah, that's,
I think it's easy enough to whip a design together, but that's me.
Well, so then we give that to the standing sign committee? Say, hey, put together a proposal for a banner. We can send that over to the chamber and say, hey, chamber, here's a $5,000 option for banners up and down Main Street.
Works for me.
As I recall, the sign committee is Rose, Laura, and myself. So that gets back into the question too of trying to get us together in a timely fashion. So I know, Laura, you and I are both running 100 miles an hour, so that's.
we are running 100 miles an hour, and that's the whole thing, you guys. Like, these get tossed to people that are super crazy.
Why are you two running so slow? Only 100 miles an hour?
Catch us if you can.
Laura, you muted.
No, Laura's muted. There she is.
Oh, sorry guys, I don't know why I muted. So yeah, that's part of the problem here, right? I mean, everybody talks about it, and then nothing gets done unless somebody that's a doer steps up and does it. So,
Perry, are you involved in the chamber conversations, Perry?
Yes.
Might I just suggest that if you have a design proposal, do you want to put something together and then share it with the three of us?
Yeah, when I had Amos working on it before, basically what our concept was is what we're currently using for the city logo and something about welcoming to the downtown. I had him work on something for a DDA one, and I had Ashley work on something for a chamber one. I will scroll back through my stored data somewhere and see if I can find where them are at.
Otherwise, I could put one together too. But like I said, if you're involved in both organizations, I thought either you or Laura, and if you have a little more time than Laura, then
Yeah, let me scroll back through my stuff and see if I can find it. Because Amos was working on one, and I think he sent me something, but I can't remember.
can you get us something by the end of the week?
Should be by the end of the week, being this is Monday. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
thanks,
That works.
Barry. You guys, I'm not even on that committee for the chamber. I just
stepping in and trying to
Right.
get it
But you're on the
done.
sign committee for the DDA.
Right, right.
So, yeah. Okay. So, is there anything else that we wanted to talk about here? Obviously, this is informal. We can't do any official action today, so.
I guess the only thing otherwise I'd ask is, should we start inviting in a more formal manner, Mr. Heisen gonna make DDA meetings?
It would probably be good to ask for his input.
I mean, as kind of a permanent basis, whoever the chamber president is at the time, ask them or send them the DDA information. See if he wants to it.
Bless you.
The chamber has co-presidents right now.
Yeah,
Bless you.
and that's why we had a Zoom meeting.
I know, right? I got the sneezing.
Okay, well, so how about I'll start, I'll start on all the DDA stuff. I mean, because you guys should have similar parallel goals for the most
Right.
part.
Right.
And, you know, I'm not gonna input our governments into the chamber. It's not going. We certainly appreciate their assistance anytime we have something going on, so.
Okay, do we have,
If Rose and Laura, if you guys can monitor your emails, I'm gonna send you over then some info for a trash can recommendation, and then Barry will get us some artwork for some banner recommendations, and if we could just put a recommendation out there, that will give the chamber then something that they can wrap their budget around, and hopefully we can get this moving relatively quickly.
got it.
All right.
And I'll see if we can hire, I mean, we didn't allocate any funds to hire anybody, did we, Perry? To help us with this grant money, because honestly, we need somebody doing it.
Well, we've got some people out, we've got, Christine is being paid to do the treasurer work of it, and Dawn is doing some of the other stuff, but yes, we're looking at, John is supposed to be contacting somebody from Kent County to see if they have a grant person that, because they want a percentage of it to be used towards letting the businesses know, all the businesses, not just the chamber businesses, of all the different grants and funding that's available. So the plan was to start with them, if they've got somebody that already knows all the information that we can hire, come out and do some sort of a presentation or whatever.
That's not my question, and I'll talk to you about it later. So, just, I wanna make sure that we're using this money effectively, not just, do you know what I mean?
Yes,
Plus,
I
we
know.
have to use it.
Correct, and that's why we was approaching somebody from Kent County. But, yes, we can talk about that later.
Okay.
Do we have an update on the mural?
So the update on the mural is the artist has not come in and signed everything. He said he's working 16-hour days because of COVID and doesn't know when he's gonna fit it in. So,
Did you get my other contact info?
I did, but can we hire another mural artist at this point?
Not unless the board agrees.
Yeah, we can't do that today, but we certainly could open it up if he's not gonna. That would take an official board rescission of the offer.
Yeah. So unfortunately, COVID has done some weird stuff, right? I mean, my building is prepped. I did everything that I was supposed to do. We're ready to go here. And I rented a man lift for the month that he was supposed to be here taking. So, yeah, I don't know what else to do.
Well, and a second question is, so we could hire the other artist to do the rubber duck one, we could put it back out for more bids. But, you know, as far as I know, the DDA still has $5,000 in their budget for other art downtown in the budget year. So, has there been any thought put into additional murals, or does the board think that they want to do something else with that money? Just because theoretically, the only reason I'm bringing it up is theoretically, you could have two murals going on. And I think I mentioned it in previous meetings, but I know Warren and I talked about it. The walkway that goes around the fire station and the library, would be a real easy kind of flat horizontal surface for like high school students to do, let's say, non-fine detail work, geometric patterns, something like that. It might be an easy way to get, art in the community for not that much money. And frankly, I think it'd be a fun thing to do too. But, yeah, just an idea.
That would be great, except for COVID, nobody can get close to each other, or any other darn thing right now. It's a real issue.
Well, I don't think you really need to have anybody near to each other. You give a high school student, 50 feet of sidewalk, and you say, anytime you want to go out there and paint by yourself, we'll give you $500 or $1,000, and $200 for painting supplies. And for $5,000, you can probably get that entire walkway done.
So present to us what they're gonna paint.
Well, they didn't have to submit a plan ahead of time, just like we did for the first round. But since you're not on a balloon lift, it makes it that much easier. I think we should expect less. I don't want to have fine detail work. This would be just one of those things where you have geometric shapes, colors, abstract type stuff, which I think is certainly within the easy realm of high school students. I mean, for example, over at the old tennis courts on Hilltop, you'll see that some young women sketched on a theater springs, something like that.
Red Hawk.
It's real good, real easy to do. That might be a good option for being able to get something done this year.
Here or else last month you mentioned something about the thing over by the library trail. Either one of them would be good too.
I think that's the one I mentioned.
Oh, I thought you said by the fire, I thought you were talking about the new fire station, you were talking about the old one.
Yeah.
I got a customer that just walked in.
Alright. Well, again, we can't really conduct any business or make any decisions today, so I think this is helpful. We got a little bit of direction here for the sign committee to try to get some things done for the next meeting, but unless
Do
we
you
have any...
think, I have something. Do we think we can put out a vote even via email to maybe hire a different artist so we can get this done?
We could set another meeting before your next official regular meeting.
I just, waiting 30 days, right? It's 30 more days and then we're, into the end of August and then we have a short time span there.
Laura, why don't you reach out to him and see informally and see if he's interested first?
Yep.
And if he's interested, then perhaps we can just set it, we can do a 5-minute meeting, take a vote, and make an officially reopen it.
Yeah. And see if I
don't
can
wanna-
get him.
I don't want to do it if we don't know whether the guy's even interested. So,
Yep, I'll reach out to him.
okay, let's do that.
Okay.
And Laura, let me know as soon as you can. I'll set up a quick 5-minute meeting. And by that time, I'm sure we'll have Mr. Brazinger or Sally available.
Right,
Okay.
And we can do a real quick meeting.
Okay.
okay.
All right.
Yeah,
And then Mike, I'll stay in touch with you about what's going on with the chamber stuff too, so we
Yep,
can make sure
sounds
that
good.
that's.
And I'll send an email out to the sign committee too, and try to get a couple of these other things moving so that we can have a recommendation for the board on the next meeting.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay.
So let me know.
Let's do anything else, guys. Let's move on. Like I said, we can't do anything official today anyway, so.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks all.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Bye.